Welcome. It is, although I'm quite many years in the Drupal community, this is more or less a special moment for me because not often I've been giving back to the community something like code and something that everyone does, but bringing your own project into the community is totally different, but you will see during the presentation. About myself, my name is Erik Stielstra. At Drupal.org you can find me as Sutrasan. I've been, not in years, but in Drupal versions, I've been in Drupal since 4.6. And I mostly consider myself as being back-end developer, but also do front-end and do mentoring training of my colleagues, but also in community. And to a lesser extent, I consider myself as being a themer. That has its effect on the training materials that I will show later. And last but not least, I'm employed by Limoen Groen, a Drupal shop in Amsterdam. I'm going to show you the Open Drupal curriculum, a collection of training materials. The idea is to provide high quality training, open source training materials for Drupal in a context of, well, now I'll tell later. It's been started, the Open Drupal was started in 2015 as part of the Drupal apprentice scheme in the UK. It was abandoned after that apprentice scheme thought we should not only do Drupal but do other things. Since then it has been silent, and at the beginning of this year I donated my training materials, my WizLearn training materials to this initiative. The materials are licensed under the Creative Commons license. It is available for commercial use, and you can find everything at opendrupal.org. Well, that's it. Thank you very much for your attention. You can find the rest online. There's online opendrupal.org. There's a GitHub repository, and currently the materials consist of these things you see here. There's a Drupal introduction called Drupal Fundamentals, covering Drupal core. There's a Drupal architecture, more or less site building materials. There is about module development, there's front-end development, and there are still a number of example projects to do the whole thing. You'll find this also on Slack, the Drupal Slack channel, Open Drupal. But, as I said, I contributed my training materials. Where did it come from? How did it get to this point? And why is someone so stupid to open source his materials? Well, it is strange. I've been in the Drupal community now since about 2007. And I've always been wondering, why is no one sharing their training materials? We're all sharing code, we're sharing ideas, we're sharing business ideas, whatever, but not training materials. It's awesome. I don't know why. But okay, someone has to start, and maybe this is a start. In the placing in time, Drupal 6, 7, and 8 releases. My training background in Drupal, my training history in Drupal started in 2008 at DrupalCon Szeged. Anyone was there at that time? Great. The Drupal Village. There, I think it must have been there that there was a session about Drupal training. Customers asking for training, and what can we do about it? Well, that's where my idea comes. I have a past history with giving technical training in the oil and gas industry, developing my own training, and that came with Drupal experience at that time, little experience, only a year and a half. A year later, I joined, together with Bear Kessels, we've started WizLearn, a training company, and we started giving Drupal training. Throughout the years, giving many trainings for Drupal shops, end customers, mostly site builders, developers, also editorial and system management trainings. These trainings were relatively small groups, and that's what you see in the materials I've shared. Those are made for smaller groups with guided someone like myself, but probably also like you, who has Drupal experience and knowledge and wanted to share that in a relatively small group, not a large audience where everything is written out, but that's what it's made for, smaller groups, in-house training. Typically audience, web agency, and a site owner company which has in-house editors. I've developed my own materials, but using community best practices, with using what I hear and what I experience myself in the community, and my own experience, and also what I hear from customers. I try to combine everything in the package they need. Then the open source materials. This is where we left the timeline, but there's a little more on the timeline. In 2015 there was this Open Drupal initiative started. It went asleep in the same year, but in 2018 I met Crispin, his picture is on the bottom, at Drupal Camp in London, and I said, oh, well, I want to share my materials. My plan is to terminate my training business by the end of this year, and so there's a nice opportunity to maybe give my training materials a second life. And perhaps the blue dots, and going off the slide, will give other people the opportunity to use the materials. Well, let's have a look at it. What does it consist of? It has slides. It has written exercises. Most of the trainings, most of the materials are made with a story. In Dutch, een rode draad. I don't know what's translated to English. But an idea, a guided story. Let's say the base in the Drupal fundamentals is that you are building a festival website. Well, that's the story, and around that story there are exercises made. And it includes whatever is needed for setup. For example, an installation profile for this basic festival website for a start, and some theme in there. And it's most of the materials also include the final result. So, for example, written code. We'll have a look at the development module. Materials are the more sales-like information is on OpenDrupal.org, and the repository of materials themselves are on GitHub. And now I have to navigate between this view, which I rarely use. I'll do it this way. This is OpenDrupal. It's a basic website. We just took a theme and we built a site with Jekyll. Some information about OpenDrupal, what it is, an overview of the materials. Doesn't really work on this screen, but Drupal fundamentals, Drupal architecture, module development. There's some more information about module development, starting level, end level, what you need for it, and the description of the different lessons which are in there. And links to the lessons. Yeah. This is, the slides are made in such a way with, I lost the name of the package, which JavaScript package, Reveal.js, to make the slides. The advantage is that you may be able to run it locally, and you can also watch the slides on github.io, which makes them easily accessible for people attending the course. You do need an internet connection for that, but for the rest it's just using the keyboard or the mouse. And these are the slides. It has some introduction about how to prepare yourself. This tells you need the local host development environment. In the future version, I see that it has a link to OpenDrupal.org, which tells you more about how to install, linking to virtual machines and information on Drupal.org, etc. But it's the starting point. Prepares participant, prepares trainer, something about the exercises that you need to download the stuff and you can look in there, and about the example code which is available. So this is the information of the package, and then the package itself. These are the different lessons. For example, about lesson 3 about caching. It has again an outline of the course, and then different sections about page calls. These are slide materials telling you about page call, the different steps in there, about request objects, response objects, some example codes, just to give an idea about what information is in their slides with information. Not all detailed, not written down, not written out. There are ideas for more evolutions of this, but let's keep it basic. Let's see if this, if there's demand, there's need for these materials. All materials are made with these principles. They are made to be used by a Drupal experienced person guiding one or other people, so you can use it for your colleagues, new people coming in. You can use it to run your own training business and use these materials and build on top of that and share it, please. All made with an easy access like that on github.io. You can see the slides, easy to get started. Everything should be in there for a package to hand over, and you can download the repository for advanced usage. Some ideas for the future, promoting the initiative. That's part of what I'm doing here. Styling of slides. I've realized that the logo uses the Drupal font, which is not allowed by the trademark, and we have to do some other things with the trademark, and being allowed to use the name Drupal, etc. Improve Drupal.org. There are many things internal for the slides and external for promotion that can be done in the future. Maybe add more courses. I'm thinking about that the Drupal Fundamentals training course should be based on Umami, as it is a result. You can use the Umami install profile as the complete result, but you can give build materials towards from fairly clean Drupal standard installation towards Umami, and with that explain all the terminology, all the content types and the fields and the view modes and all the things of what it means and how it works. And there could be new courses about, for example, using Composer with Drupal, Drush, Drupal console, settings about deployment of Drupal. Those materials I have in some form as Whistler material, but I have not open sourced them yet. This is the core. So everything together on OpenDrupal.org you find the information. Basic Drupal fundamentals, architecture for site builders, module development, front-end development, and practicing projects. Everything on these URLs. That's what I have to tell you. Any questions?
So thank you for your talk and for your lasting involvement in training and mentoring and stuff. Two questions. Is it correct? I mean, your material goes a long way back, but if I'm not mistaken, this is all Drupal 8 material, right?
Yes, I've been giving Drupal training since Drupal 6 and rebuilt that, rewritten that for Drupal 7, and again rewritten that for Drupal 8. Yes, everything is up to date with Drupal 8. I don't want to share the Drupal 7 materials because it's all outdated.
Yeah. And second question, so with this all being on GitHub, does that mean that you would be accepting pull requests if someone finds like a small typo or thinks of a big improvement or anything in between?
Yes, the question is whether we will accept pull requests. Yes, with pleasure. Any guidelines have not been written out, what courses we would like to have, in what formats and things like that, but in principle, yes please. Just like any other open source project, we do accept pull requests. You had a question. I have the time.
Yeah, okay. My question was, what does this have to do with security?
What does it have to do with security? There was a change in the program. Maybe that caught you. No, that has nothing to do with security. Is of course a subject during the training courses, but no, there's nothing with security. Sorry, I can't help you.
Stay, please. Because I'm
Stay. The next talk is about it.
Don't run away.
Another question.
Your slides should suggest that the learning materials should be done with an experienced Drupal developer. How would you suggest self-learners start with this repository?
Yeah, the question is that my slides here suggest that it should be done with a knowledgeable, experienced person, Drupal person. How about self-learning? As such, they might not be suitable for self-learning because the gaps in between are too large. But if you have a colleague next to you or scheduled a few times, 15 minutes or half an hour a day, that might be an option. I've had some initial contact with someone from Drupal Girls, I think it's called. They had some ideas about guided materials, but they didn't respond anymore. But I'll again try to get in touch. I have some hesitation with changing the materials to that because I know there's a large maintenance burden on that. You have to write a lot of things, you have to make a lot of links, external links, you have to maintain those links. It would be a good addition, but then in steps. First, rough information for self-learning with a lot of links, and then more written and more descriptions. But it's a sliding. You going? It's I don't know in English.
Slippery slope.
It's a slippery slope, and you end up in writing a book.
Why not?
Might I suggest,
Yeah.
if you were to make a self-learning course for, let's say, Drupal 8.6, and we go to 8.7, and you would have to rewrite a lot, because that's your argument, right? Can't you just open source that? So just say, you know what, this is 8.6, this is done now, this is what I guarantee. If the community wants 8.7, then just adjust it.
You're asking why not make such a thing as an open source initiative. I would welcome that. And at the same time I ask myself, why hasn't someone done that before? There has been initiatives about Drupal online in documentation. There have been in Dutch, in the Netherlands, Belgium. There has been an initiative, I think at Drupal 6 time, that died. Is an initiative of one person. I don't know. If someone stands up, wants to do it, great. Not me. I know that this will have enough time, my personal time.
I can think of something like keeping the courses always up to date for newcomers who want to learn alone. but also have some kind of a paid subscription, which might be useful with support and everything, with guidance, live guidance, and video and everything, collaborations. This might be useful for, I don't know, web agencies or everybody who is working with Drupal and they want to hire juniors, and they don't want to invest at the beginning the time of the supervisors just for the basics. So they can basically hire or buy this subscription for 1 week, and then you do that for other people who want to do this.
Yeah. You're suggesting more or less a business model where with guided materials and someone can buy a subscription on that.
Exactly.
We
open source, but still you can offer a paid subscription where agencies, you save the time of the agencies, for example, to help e-commerce learn. So you can have both.
It's an idea that's worth discovering. Something for you, perhaps.
I'm currently doing exactly that at my work. I'm guiding e-commerce, so I think something like this might be really, really useful. So we can talk about it.
You do that yourself. Yeah, we can talk about it. Yeah, thank you.
Maybe you can combine it with commercial material already out there, like Drupal Me or that kind of...
It can definitely be combined with material which is already out there, yes. Drupal Me, build module, etc. Yeah. That is how those sources I also use when new colleagues come in and I need to train them, yes. Any more remarks or questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for having it so complete, shared online. And we have a solution already in this room. If we take these kind of courses and give them at local Drupal camps and other events,
Yes.
we fix the problem of newcomers. They can dive into it and give the training themselves someplace later and do the pull requests, and really great project. I like
Yeah,
that.
the materials can definitely be used at camps and at events. I've purposely made it such complete materials. These were more or less my materials. I've changed the format. It was in Keynote and it was PDS, but I changed the format. But the content is, and translated it of course. But the format is the same, and it's also my sales materials which were there as a starting point. Yes, I wanted to have it complete. Otherwise, this is the best chance I can give it to be used. And otherwise, if it's just only a Git repository, that's a waste of effort. Okay, then no more questions. Then thank you for your attention.